All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most dramatic life stories you'll ever hear, and we're going to pull out some timeless lessons from it. We're talking about the biblical figure Joseph and what his insane journey can teach us about faith, character, and hope in our own lives, right now. So let's get into it.
This one question, it's really the heart of Joseph's entire story, isn't it? How do you survive betrayal by your own family, being sold into slavery, and then getting thrown in prison for something you didn't do? And not just survive, but end up in a position of incredible power. His life was anything but a straight line. It was messy, it was painful, and in the end, absolutely triumphant.
And what a journey it was. Just look at this roller coaster of a life. He starts out as the golden child, his dad's favorite son. Then, boom, he's sold into slavery by his jealous brothers. Then, just when things might be looking up, he's falsely accused and tossed into a dungeon for years. And then somehow, against all odds, he rises to become the second in command of all of Egypt. It's these wild swings from the pit to the palace that make his story so powerful.
So the big question is, how on earth did he manage it? Well, if you dig into the story, it wasn't just about being tough or getting lucky. The real key was his deep faith. And that faith really showed up in two major ways: an unbelievable level of trust and a truly radical sense of forgiveness, especially when it was the last thing anyone would expect.
So the first big takeaway from his life is this idea of trusting in what's called God's providence. It's this core belief that even when your life looks like a complete disaster, when nothing makes sense, there's a bigger divine plan at work behind the scenes, a purpose you just can't see yet.
And this quote, wow, it just says it all. You have to remember who he's talking to here. These are the very same brothers who threw him in a pit and sold him. And he looks them in the eye, and he doesn't downplay what they did. He says, "You meant this for evil." But in the very next breath, he completely reframes it, "But God meant it for good." He saw a higher purpose that turned their hateful act into a story of salvation.
And this isn't just some dusty old idea. For modern believers, this same principle is a cornerstone of faith. This famous verse from Romans kind of takes Joseph's personal experience and makes it a universal promise. This idea that for those who love God, nothing is wasted. Even the worst moments can be woven into a beautiful tapestry.
Okay, so that deep trust leads directly into this second principle, practicing forgiveness. And we're not just talking about saying, "I forgive you." We're talking about forgiveness as a powerful, life-altering action that stops the cycle of bitterness and revenge right in its tracks. Just let these words sink in for a second. Can you imagine saying this to the people who ruined your life? Instead of blasting them with anger, he's actually comforting them. He tells them not to be angry with themselves. And again, he points to that bigger purpose. God sent me ahead of you. He made it less about their crime and more about the incredible redemptive outcome. And for believers today, this isn't just a nice story, it's a direct instruction. Joseph's unbelievable act of forgiveness is a perfect picture of what this verse in Colossians is talking about. The whole idea is, you forgive others because you've been shown an even greater forgiveness yourself. It's about passing on the grace you've received.
But here's the thing. Joseph's story isn't just about him passively trusting that things would work out. It's also about his active character. These terrible trials didn't just happen to him. They showed the world, and probably him, what he was really made of. His character was truly forged in fire.
So, when we talk about integrity, what do we actually mean? Well, it's pretty simple. It's about being the same person no matter who's watching. It's about having strong moral principles that don't bend or break under pressure. It's having a moral compass that points true north, always.
In this quote right here, it just cuts to the heart of Joseph's integrity. When he's being tempted by his boss's wife, notice what his first thought is. It's not, "Oh no, I might get caught." His immediate reaction is, "How could I do this and sin against God?" His moral compass wasn't based on the fear of man. It was based on his relationship with God. That's a huge difference.
And what did he do in that moment? He didn't hang around and try to reason with her. He literally ran for his life. He fled. And that physical act is such a powerful picture of the advice given to believers today. Don't play with fire. Don't try to manage temptation. You run from it. And instead, you chase after what's right. So you'd think doing the right thing would pay off, right? Well, for Joseph, it landed him straight in prison. Which brings us to our next lesson, perseverance. Think about it. Those years rotting in a dungeon could have easily been seen as a total waste, as a punishment for his good character. But the story treats that time as something completely different. It was a time of preparation.
You know, Joseph's long, patient wait in that prison is basically a masterclass in this very idea from the New Testament. The whole point is that sticking it out through trials with patience actually does something in you. It's not wasted time. It's a process that builds spiritual maturity and makes you complete, getting you ready for whatever God has next.
All right, so all of this, the trust, the character, the perseverance, it all points to our final theme. Joseph's faith wasn't just about getting through the day-to-day. It was about having a laser-focused vision of the future, a hope that was completely anchored in promises that were much, much bigger than his own life. You have to understand, Joseph didn't see his life as just his own isolated story. He saw himself as one small but crucial part of this giant, unfolding saga, a story that began with promises God made to his great-grandfather Abraham, and one that would continue long after he was gone. His life was just one link in a divine chain.
I mean, get this. On his deathbed, as the powerful ruler of Egypt, what are his final words about? Not himself, not his accomplishments. They're about the future of his people. This command to carry his bones out of Egypt was a massive statement of faith. He was basically shouting with his last breath, "This isn't our home. God has promised us something better, and I believe it so much I want my bones to be there when it happens."
And that's the ultimate anchor for a believer's hope today, isn't it? Just like Joseph put his faith in a future he couldn't see, the Christian faith is built on the confidence that every single promise God has ever made finds its yes and amen in Jesus Christ. It's a guaranteed hope.
So, after all that, after looking at his trust, his character, and his forward-looking hope, what's the bottom line? What is Joseph's real, lasting legacy?
Well, when you boil it all down, his incredible, unbelievable journey really gives us 5 powerful lessons that are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago.
So let's recap them real quick. First, trusting that there's a bigger plan, even in the chaos. Second, making the hard choice to practice radical forgiveness. Third, holding on to your integrity when the pressure is on. Fourth, persevering through the long, hard seasons of waiting. And finally, anchoring your hope not on what you see, but on the promises of God.
And that leaves us with one final thought, a question for you, really. As you look at these 5 lessons learned in a pit, in a slave's house, and in a prison cell, which one of them hits closest to home for you? Which of these lessons from this ancient life speaks directly into your modern journey, right where you are today?